My name is Chantal Newman, and I'm from the Diver Medic and from Dan Europe. I have a very, very amazing guest with me today. And we see our guest's mum is also in the audience. And I have Tegran, and we've got Michelle in the audience as well. And hi, Jill. I'm hoping that we're going to have some more attendees, which would be great. So my very, very, very beautiful and esteemed, lovely mermaid, live mermaid, Linden Wolbert, I hope I pronounced your surname properly, is going to be talking to us about children and education and edutainment, planting the seeds of hope. So, Linden, I'm going to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and hopefully we can learn as we go through. I'm loving your apartment. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's like kind of it's like a stage. It's really beautiful. It's like a stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your presentation on. I'm going to disappear. All right, I'll come back a little bit later. If you need me, I'm in the background, but just give me a bit of a chance to be able to stick the mic on. It takes about a few seconds, but depending on the internet. But tell us about yourself, and then we'll see what's going to happen next.
Cool.
Loads of people coming in, so
oh, they're piling in. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you out there in the interweb world, and thank you so much for tuning in. And Chantal, it is such an honor to be part of your webinar series. For those of you who've been tuning in, she's had this incredible lineup of guests, and I am very honored to be somewhere in this lineup. Wow. And today I would like to talk about creating ocean edutainment, or really any kind of edutainment. Edutainment being education that is also secondarily educational, entertaining, all in the same thing. You have a program, whether it is something that's online based, or you can have edutainment on television, of course, if you're really lucky. And I have created a lot of ocean edutainment here online for little sea fans, as I call them. So I'm a professional mermaid. I have been doing this for over a decade here in California. I live in Los Angeles, and it's just been a really wild adventure. The impetus for becoming a professional mermaid started when I was, well, I learned about the sport of freediving, but I'll rewind. I wanted to make ocean edutainment from a young age. I grew up in Amish country, Pennsylvania, and we didn't really have cable for the first about 8 to 9 years of my life. So we did have 3 channels, and one of them was PBS. And on PBS, as many of you know, which is the US's version of the BBC, essentially, it's a publicly funded station that has a lot of really good educational content. And I loved watching anything that they had regarding wildlife, including, but not limited to, of course, Jacques Cousteau and Marty Stauffer's Wild America, Nova, and any documentaries that would come over from the BBC into the US broadcasting. So we had a Betamax recorder, and I would sometimes record these shows, and I really enjoyed learning about nature. And just the sound of the narration by Sir David Attenborough, the music, the incredible cinematography just enthralled me. And so from a young age, not only was I loving nature on television, I was loving nature in person. So I grew up on an area in Pennsylvania that had a lot of natural wood habitats. There were pastures and fields. There was a lake. So I was catching bugs and frogs, and basically I've always been a complete science geek. And my parents, who I think are watching right now, have been instrumental in helping me formulate this career that I now have been doing for so many years. Support left, right, and center. Everywhere you go. If I showed an interest in something, they would say, okay, well, let's see if we can encourage that in some way. And they always have. So even when I said, I want to be a professional mermaid, they didn't bat an eye, and they supported me completely in that. So I'm a really lucky daughter. So that being said, ocean edutainment is something that came about because I loved the underwater world. It was something that was inaccessible to me being in landlocked Pennsylvania. So when I started watching these underwater wildlife documentaries and I would see these Caribbean coral reefs or the Red Sea or the kelp forests off the coast of California, it was just magical, and someplace that I thought, oh, I want to be there. I want to go there, but it wasn't accessible. So occasionally our family would go on vacations to the beach in the summertime. If we were lucky, we'd get to wake up early in the morning. My dad would wake up with me really early. We'd see the tides and go during low tide, and we'd go looking for seashells and critters at the low tide. And I loved it. I dreamed of the beach all the time. I was a swimmer. I was on swim team and loved being in the water. It was my favorite thing, and really the only sport that I ever excelled at. I'm not so good on land. So the mermaid thing came pretty naturally for me, as I loved water, I loved the ocean, I loved natural history, and I loved image making, loved taking pictures, loved filming. And so I chose to go to Emerson College in Boston for my collegiate educational experience, and I studied film and environmental science. Now, the combination of those two was a really fun thing, because not only did I get to exercise this honing in on understanding lighting and camera angles and editing and storytelling, but then there was this amazing science department, and I got to learn a lot about natural history and how to convey that through moving images as well. So that's kind of a little background there. Then I moved to Los Angeles my final semester of my senior year of college, and in the year 2003, here I landed in California, where it felt like I should have always been. And I began realizing that this is a place I could finally get underwater and scuba dive. So I saved up my sand dollars, and I went and I got my open water PADI certification out at Catalina Island, and my life changed completely. I started meeting this new community of people, of divers, of image makers, of other science geeks, other natural history enthusiasts. And it became this just overwhelming sense of, I can't work a normal job. I don't think I can do this. And then enter one of my dear friends from college gave me a DVD that he got and said, I think you would like this. And it was Howard and Michelle Hall's Coral Reef Adventure. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I saw their lifestyle. They're traveling around the world. They're documenting changes in coral reefs and health of coral reefs, and why are these reefs suffering, and what are the human aspects of that, and how can we upgrade what we're doing and protect the oceans for our futures and for our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. So that brings us to ocean edutainment. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin of me saying, all right, this is what I'm going to do with my life. So I quit my very brief 2-year and some change stint of a 9-to-5 job where I was working for Emerson College, where I went to school in the residential internship program as the residence director. During that time, I was diving whenever possible. And then I finally quit. And I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to start my underwater career. I started working for PADI as a model. So I used to be in some of their educational materials and marketing materials. It was an amazing experience. I got to travel around and see parts of the world I never dreamed I would. I learned, obviously, the basics of regular scuba diving in a wetsuit. I learned dry suit diving. I dived in England, in Cornwall, and Ireland, in the Caribbean, and it was just the most amazing experience. Additionally, when I was asked to film a documentary that Grant Graves was directing, it was a freediving documentary called Sink Phase. I went down to the Cayman Islands for the first time and met Mandy Ray Cruikshank, Martin Stepanek, Kurt Kroc in the freediving world of Performance Freediving International at the time, which is now PFA, and then Martin broke off and created FII, Freediving Instructors International. I learned about monofins. I learned about freediving and breath hold diving, and I was fascinated. So that's when I tried my first monofin. Thank you, Mandy Ray. That was awesome. And I realized, wait a minute, I can be a mermaid. I can teach kids about the ocean through this vessel of a mythical creature, and it might be more fun that way. So that being said, let's talk about creating ocean edutainment. planting seeds of hope. So I think that as far as making things fun and interesting for children, and I'm hoping I'm figuring out how to properly, I think, nope, that's YouTube presentation. Do I just hit play? I'm not sure. Hey, Chantel, I want to make sure I've got this right. Is it already full screening? I want to double check. Forgot to ask this in the portion before you all signed on. She's coming. It's taking a mermaid minute, though.
Okay, you ready?
Hey there, I'm ready.
Let's hit it.
Thank you. Oh, we're playing the episode.
It's a Mermaid Minute. Hi, I'm Mermaid Linden, and this is episode number 20, Mandarin Fish. And now for Little Mermaid Magic. Wow, let's explore. Mandarin fish were named after their resemblance to the vivid robes worn by Imperial Chinese Mandarin officers. These slow-moving fish feed on small crustaceans and invertebrates and are really tiny, growing to only 2 inches or 6 centimeters with a lifespan of 10 to 15 years. They use special light-reflecting cells called cyanophores to make their stunningly bright blue coloring. They are native to the Pacific, ranging from the Ryukyu Islands to Australia. They can walk on the seafloor using large pelvic fins. Males do a ritual-like dorsal dance to win the affections of a female. To spawn, a male and female slowly swim upward about 3 feet above the seafloor together. At the peak, a cloud of eggs and sperm are released. The mandarin fish does not have scales. Instead, it produces a stinky mucus that covers its body, which tastes bitter, likely to ward off predators. Mandarin fish really look like they popped out of a 1960s psychedelic movie. Groovy, baby! And that's a mandarin fish in a Mermaid Minute. I'm Mermaid Linden. And I'll see you next time, my little sea fans.
Okay. I think I was able to get that. There we go. Yay! Thank you. So that was an example of ocean edutainment. That is the thing I'm probably the most proud of ever creating is my Mermaid Minute series. Mermaid Minute is a combination of all the things that I love. Music, storytelling, visuals, special effects, obviously natural history, underwater ocean edutainment at its peak for me. So I really loved creating the Mermaid Minute, and it was an idea that I had one day in the shower washing my hair, where I get most of my good ideas, and I ended up creating this thanks to the help of many different friends. So what I want to talk about now is ocean edutainment, aside from being something that helps plant seeds for kids to become the youngest ambassadors of our oceans. I mean, it worked for me. Here I am. This is what I'm doing now. And this is a direct result of those documentaries that I watched on TV when I was a kid. So YouTube's a great platform for this. Vimeo is a great platform for this. We live in a world now where not only can you do things accessibly and inexpensively, you have an audience that you have bigger than you've ever had in the history of time. So it's kind of a neat time to be a content creator. So that being said, let's get started. I want to start by just talking about how here we are, many of the people who are tuning in are underwater folks, divers, and we see things underwater that we really love and we want to share with people. And these pictures are all from Palau. I was in Palau and had just the most incredible experience for anyone who's been there. The colors, the vibrance of everything underwater is just tremendous. There was so much life. Every single coral head was this microcosm. Here I am off the boat, completely covered in snail poop. It's called the Milky Way. Pretty funny moment. And there I am with some of my friends who I got to go with. And so, for example, I wanted to understand, okay, that mandarin fish episode you just saw was filmed mostly in Palau. Some of it was stock footage, some of it was footage I had filmed. And how do we start? How do you take a trip like this where you maybe see something, see a habitat, see animals you want to share in the form of edutainment? Where do you even begin? Well, come and dream with me. Come to my grotto and learn about the magic of underwater edutainment. So the first step for me is to dream up your concept. So maybe you already have footage in the can, as they say, or maybe you're going on a trip and you know that there is a creature there. I knew there were mandarin fish, and I just thought they were the most beautiful little creatures I had never seen until I went there and found out they were right at the end of the dock at Sam's Tours, and I was so excited about that. So first, I found out that the creature I really wanted to see the most was accessible. I dreamed up this idea of wanting to have an episode of Mermaid Minute, my YouTube series focusing on the mandarin fish. Now, you already saw the final product, which is kind of neat. But gosh, it's so much fun to make your dreams become a reality. So one of the things I've always subscribed to, I'm very energetic, but contagious enthusiasm is crucial, I think, in the success of any project. When you infuse your passion for something, a topic, a subject matter of sorts, into the work that you are creating, people feel that when they watch what you've created. If you get excited when you're watching it, people are going to get excited with you when they watch it too. And that's a really cool thing. So it's really important to, obviously, the first step is to record your content. And you've got to find whether that's, something you're going to go film. We've gone through history, as many of you may know or not, depending on if you're younger viewers watching this webinar. I have worked with all kinds of media, different formats for recording things in the past. In film school, I learned to use the Bolex film camera. I'm going to pull my little pointer on here to show you. So this is a Bolex film camera. These are beautiful 16 millimeter film cameras that wind up, and you only have 2 minutes to film. Then there are SVHS. We upgraded to SVHS, which was still not as good as Beta. Beta had really good quality. It's hard to see in this little corner here, but this is an underwater housing for a Bolex. And so some of you may have filmed with those in the past, and they're really incredible little cameras. But the magic about living in this time, this age and stage in history, is that we have compact cameras like these little teeny GoPros. And there are lots of other kinds too that, but this is obviously the most popular. A lot of people know and use these GoPro cameras. And my gosh, they're depth rated. They are pretty reliable, and they pack a pretty good punch. For their compact nature, they can get a really nice HD and even 4K image. So you can punch in on things in post-production or zoom in on an image, and you don't lose resolution if you're, just putting it on in 1080, for example. Okay. So a really important part when you are filming is to get release forms. This is almost, I don't know, it's a deal breaker for a lot of people. If you film and you don't get release forms, whether it's for a location where you're filming, getting permission to film in that location, or if there are people in your video that you need to get clearance to have their permission to have their likeness on camera to use for your educational purposes, it's really important to get release forms. So I just always have them with me. I create them. There's templates online for these, and make sure you get those signed so that when your edutainment piece does come out publicly, someone doesn't call you and say, whoa, you never asked me to be in your video, and I don't like being on camera, because then they can ask you legally to take that down, and then you have to remove it. So yes, release forms are a very important part of production life. A necessary thing. One of my favorite parts about putting a video together, I always start with the music. I start with an audio bed. Music is really important to me. It sets a tone for your piece. It gives it an energy, and you can have different songs throughout your piece. You can have, like I did in the Mermaid Minute, I have a standard opening music bed that I use. And I think that it's really neat when, for example, you hear that musical cue coming from the other room and you get excited and you run in to watch what's coming on the TV. You hear the theme song and you know that it's your show, or your kids know that it's their show. And so if you're creating a series, it's really nice to have something that makes you feel good when you hear it. It's almost like this dinner bell that rings, that people get excited about seeing your content when it's coming on. There are so many resources out there for finding music. You don't have to compose music. That's much more complicated. You can, but I personally love using stock sites for video as well. There are times when I won't have a behavioral video of a specific creature for the Mermaid Minute, and I either tap into my resources, my friends who are underwater filmmakers, and you can get beautiful footage from people that you love and trust and want to support them too. Or you can get stock footage a la carte, where you just buy one little thing at a time, like through Pond 5. You can purchase clips that are pertinent to your piece, or there are membership-based sites too. You can be a member to many different things, but Storyblocks is one of my favorites. They have music, they have still images, and they have video content. And you'd be amazed at how many underwater filmmakers and videographers and even amateurs capture footage, upload it, and have it there for you to license royalty-free. So you do have to pay for the clips, but only once, and then you get use of them depending on the license agreement for that content that you choose. So once you find your content, or you film your content, your video, your still images, you find your music, and you create this kind of tapestry of image and sound, then the next step, in my opinion, is to edit. So the first thing I'll do is lay down that audio track. I will write my script. And script writing can be really fun. So for edutainment, usually we're conveying information that is, obviously fact-based or scientifically based. So I always make sure to fact check. I have a few friends who are trusted marine biologists and scientists who I will say, hey, I just wrote this script. Here are my bullet points and facts. Will you look over these for me and make sure that the wording is accurate, that the facts are still true? Science changes all the time. People are diving in submersibles and finding out new behaviors, or discovering that things we thought once were true are inaccurate. Starfish are now sea stars. I learned that. There's so many different things that we want to make sure we're putting proper content out that is based in reality and the most up-to-date way that we can. So if you do have friends or the resources that you know and trust, you can't always trust things online. So just make sure that there are people that you know you can reach out to look through and say, yes, 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 nope, switch this, reword that, and then you're going to end up with some really cool content that is truly educational. So editing is so much fun. I really enjoy it, especially now we live in a world where, again, we used to have this archaic equipment. In film school, I learned on a deck-to-deck editing bed. This is like a piece of furniture. This is called a flatbed editing system, where you were actually cutting and splicing film and gluing or taping it together, depending on when this was, and then creating this linear film. And then we had deck-to-deck editing, which was tape, where you would tape from one tape to another tape, and it was still numbers, zeros and ones, but things were getting a little more exciting as time progressed. And now we have nonlinear editing, which is amazing. I use Final Cut Pro, which is what I learned on originally in high school. I have to do a shout out to Mr. Greg Buck, who was my video teacher, my television and film teacher in high school, who was the first person to teach me editing. I learned deck to deck, and then we had a very archaic, but one of the most infantile forms of editing systems of Final Cut Pro, one of the first ever versions. So that's how I learned. So when you're editing, you're going to get used to this kind of a scene here. You're going to see interface life. This is where you have all your content over here. You have what you're editing, the product that you see on the screen to the right, and then your timeline down below. And the bottom are your audio tracks, and then you can layer on top of those and then create your imaging on top of that. So there are incredible ways to learn how to edit online. There are so many different websites that can teach you about this. And if you don't want to necessarily learn all these things yourself, you can absolutely find just different tutorials and things on YouTube, lynda.com, or you can outsource things. You know, Upwork is an incredible website, and Fiverr is a great website to get people who can do the editing for you or create digital, just all kinds of different things in After Effects. The sky or the seafloor is the limit for what you can do with these online resources if you don't necessarily want to do things yourself. So very fun. And something else too that I do want to point out, this is for all of you Apple users out there. I love Apple. I've used and edited on Apple devices and have an iPhone, and I find it to be very user-friendly. And they actually do have, and I know in the US they have this, I'm not sure if it's international as well, but they do have a system where you can sign up for a business account. So if you actually have an LLC or a corp or a business entity of any kind, you can sign up for free, become a business member, and then you can actually lease computer equipment. Now, the laptop you're seeing me on right now is a leased laptop, and I love that. Also, I have a 12 terabyte hard drive that is a mirrored 2 6 terabyte drives that everything's on it. It's mirrored, so it's a backup within itself. And that is great, not just for backing up your edits and your content, but also it's really nice because you have this leased equipment that in 3 years or 2 years or 1 year, however long you sign a lease for, you know, at the end of that lease, you're going to get the newest equipment. Your equipment isn't going to become kind of obsolete. There's that planned obsolescence thing that's happening with technology now that can be very frustrating for us filmmakers and image makers. You buy this expensive camera and then like 3 months later they come out with a newer model. Well, this kind of solves that issue. And it's relatively similar in price to purchasing the equipment, but at the end, they take the old gear and then you get something new and they help you migrate all of that data over. So I think it's a great way to go. I love it. I don't have to worry about selling equipment. I don't have to worry about things getting too old, getting slow. And then I always have new state-of-the-art, speedy, quick rendering equipment right here at my little grotto. So that's a little information about equipment and outsourcing too. Okay, so after you edit and get your story together and make it beautiful, the fun part is to add the bells and whistles. So you've got your basic content, you've got your script, you've got your music, and you have your basic images, but then you get to make fun things pop up on the screen. You get to add sound effects. You get to create jewelry and all these different things. Finish and maybe touch up your voiceover. Here's my favorite voiceover artist and natural historian from the BBC Natural History Unit, the beloved Sir David Attenborough, who, yes, as I always say, in my imagination, narrates my life. I will spare you my poor imitation of him, but there he is. We love you, Sir David. Oh, just the best soundtrack in the world. But add your bells and whistles, whatever that means for you. Creating, like for me in Mermaid Minute, I add extra titles. I add timers in the bottom. I add sound effects. I create ways that it makes it more engaging through not just the visual aspect, but the auditory aspect. And really pull things together that way. So it's a lot of fun. Next, I do want to talk about the importance of titles and captions, especially now. So first of all, a lot of people watch content now when they aren't supposed to, like, well, not right now, but if you're in an office setting and you're on your lunch break and maybe you don't have your headphones in, you'll have things on mute. So you're watching a video on mute. You want to be able to understand the essence of what you're watching and what your viewer is seeing through just the visual of the video. So if you watch your video content through your edutainment and you hit the mute button, what happens if you watch it? That's a great way to find the bells and whistles you want to add and to make sure that your titles and your captions are on point. It's really important to make sure that you realize how many people in the world are hearing impaired, or sometimes they don't speak the language that is the native language of your video. They don't speak English or Spanish or Mandarin. So it's really neat too to be able to put captions and subtitles in and get them translated into different languages. YouTube actually has a feature where you can elect for your videos to be translated by people who volunteer to do it and work to do it for YouTube. So I always say, yes, 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 please translate my videos, because then you reach an even broader audience. If you think about how many people don't speak your language and or are hearing impaired, you're eliminating a huge part of your audience if you don't cater to that. So make sure that you do have really clear, easy to read, fun to read, spell-checked titles and captions that add to your video, not just for the educational value of it, but so people can actually receive the message you're looking to share. Okay, next, your video has been completed and you want to market and monetize it. So marketing and monetizing is a pretty multifaceted portion of what you're doing, because if you create something, that's great, but if no one can find it or is going to see it, then it's falling on blind eyes and deaf ears. So you want to make sure that people can find your content. So social media is so powerful, as we know. Tagging other people in your videos when you post them up, for example, on Facebook or anything like Instagram, you can actually get other people to share things with you. But marketing is crucial, and monetizing is too, because it makes what you're doing sustainable. So, for example, budgeting is sometimes challenging, especially if you're just starting up. You want to have a production budget of some kind, or maybe you have zero. I did season 1 of Mermaid Minute with absolutely no budget. For the most part, it was shoestring, to say the least. But crowdsource funding is an incredible way to get your message out there and help people support you. People want to help you. Remember this, be a good receiver. If you are creating something that people want to learn about or share or take part in, they're going to want to contribute to it. So Kickstarter, Patreon. Patreon's a great site. People can subscribe to you as a creator and either do a one-time payment. They can donate a certain amount per project or video that you create. They can create ongoing scheduled payments. It's an amazing way for people who really want to help you to say, okay, I'm going to do this once, and then I know that I'm continuously supporting this creator, this content creator. So Patreon is awesome. I did a Kickstarter for season 2 of Mermaid Minute, and I was able to do a tremendous upgrade from season 1. Season 1 was, against a little green screen, and oh gosh, very, very grassroots. Someone was holding the fluke of my tail up on the back of the green screen with a broomstick. My friend John and my friend Nicole helped with camera, and we steamed this piece of green fabric I bought at a fabric store because I couldn't even have the budget at the time to do a real green screen. So I got a similar chroma green color of fabric, just yards of it, and felt, so it was matte, and tried my best, and it worked. It did the job. Sometimes you get creative with how you use your budget. Sometimes you use your resources. You borrow equipment from your friends who are filmmakers or image makers. You rent something for the day. You don't have to necessarily purchase equipment. There are so many ways. I mean, really, I did this in the beginning. I really didn't have much to work with. And so creating Mermaid Minute season 1 was fun in its own challenging ways, but season 2 was tremendous because I actually had a budget. So I always thank everybody who helped support Mermaid Minute season 2. I was able to turn myself into a cartoon and magically transform in the beginning of the episode, as you saw from the opening, as a human or live action Mermaid Linden underwater with titles, and then magic sparkles, transition that I got off of video blocks and overlaid, and then boom, this little cartoon version of myself came up, which I outsourced the animation. I couldn't learn that. That was too much. So I outsourced the animation to a company that specialized in animation. You can find those people really very fair prices for these types of things online now, especially on Fiverr and Upwork and other similar sites. So anyway, you can do so much with all the resources that are out there now, especially digital resources like we have online. So once you get your content up there, you get to get people excited to watch it with you. Having a consistent schedule of when you're posting your videos is really good. So I had almost 2 million views. I think I actually have exceeded this since I did this screen grab on Mermaid Minute episode 1, which was so fun. So people get to be excited about sharing your content once it comes out, and then you just watch it grow and go viral. It's really fun, especially if you're passionate about what you do and people want to share that with others. So you can watch your numbers grow, and you guys, we have the power to change the world. Ocean Edutainment for me has been a way to plant those little seeds of hope in other little sea fans who might not have access to cable television, but maybe they have a computer at school. Maybe their teacher shares things with them. Maybe their mom or their dad says, hey, here's something I'll let you watch on YouTube that's educational. I'm getting a lot of messages lately from teachers, from parents who are doing at-home schooling, who are watching Mermaid Minutes and using them in their curriculum. So that's really neat. But you guys can change the world. If you're passionate, you can make it happen. Super fun. And also, when you put all these things together, you have your dream come true. Dream up your concept, record your content, edit that content, add your bells and whistles, market and monetize, watch your numbers grow. And then we already watched my Mandarin fish video that you saw at the beginning, but then your final product is there. And it's a really unique way to express your passions. And hopefully there are other people who share that passion with you. I'd very much like to end this little part of the webinar by thanking the Diver Medic and for all of you out there who've tuned in for this, the edutainment enthusiasts of the interweb world. And I, of course, am happy to answer any questions or talk about any ideas or concerns that anyone has regarding creating your own edutainment, whether it's of the oceanic persuasion or otherwise. So thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Linden, that was really very, very cute. Very to have a different grasp of edutainment, which is really, really awesome. Thank you very, very much for doing that. I think you're one of the best presenters with the most amount of enthusiasm I've seen. So that's just really captivating. So if any of you have any questions for Linden, we can actually put you on a mic if you're willing.
Ooh.
So we can actually bring. Oh, Mom says thank you, Michelle.
Oh, yay!
That's so cool. And Michelle says really wonderful and informative, Linden. Yes, big enthusiasm, love it. It's very catchy. It's pretty cool. So do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to ask any questions? Even Mom, you want to ask a question? We'd be happy.
I think she knows everything inside and out, backwards and forwards. I am so excited. Michelle, thank you so much for tuning in. I mean, really, what this means. I mean, I just remember over a decade ago when I was watching you on my TV on my lunch breaks. Like, I'd go home and I'd watch Coral Reef Adventure, and then I bought all the other IMAX films that you and Howard were doing. And I was watching them on my lunch breaks, just thinking, wow, I want this lifestyle. I desire this kind of experience in my life and to be able to reach people this way. So thank you so much. It means more than words that you have been now a part of my life and journey, and from really before you even knew you were. So fun.
I think we need to get more exposure for you, because this is such a unique thing. I mean, the UK, United Kingdom, are not really into it so much. I know that Ellen Kurlitz's daughter has got a phenomenal tail that she had, cost her an absolute fortune. And when I've seen the pictures of her in the pool, it looks absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's like as I said, it's not really big here in the UK, but you've been here. So I mean, when you came over here, by the way, just Michelle said, Howard says, just think if we'd inspired you to become a doctor.
Well. I don't think I would have had as much fun.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have. No, it would be more
No.
you gotta love what you're doing, and that's the most important thing. And I think that's truly, it tells in your face that you absolutely love what you're doing.
I'm afraid of needles, so I don't think doctoring would have worked very well. Although I'm grateful for the people who do it. I mean, we need people out there in the world who don't faint at the sight of blood and needles like I do. I have a vasovagal response, and I have to channel, my inner strength to not pass out when I have to get shots or blood draws. So, yeah.
I just actually mentioned that the UK is not very, very big on it. We do actually have mermaids, as you saw last time. Steve Millard actually has a group of mermaids that he looks after, and they do go into like the aquariums and things like that, which is great. But the kids are not as exposed to it, which I would think would be absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously when they do go to the aquariums, they do see them, but it's a great way of teaching. It truly is a great way of teaching, as you've proved, and I think that is just such an amazing thing. Jules says, it has been so much informative fun to hear your presentation. I'm excited to share mermaid minutes with my grandson. I didn't know that about mandarin fish, no scales.
Fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have like any other qualifications that you learned? I mean, was there...
gosh. I mean, I've done so many. It's funny zooming out, looking over the career that has just kind of formed itself over the past 15 years or so. I mean, geez, I worked with Patty. I did. I teamed up with Body Glove. I created monofins for kids. So if you do want to be a mermaid or a merman, not just children, but adults, there are mermaid Linden monofins. And there's a company called the Mer Tailor who created tails to go around them, full skins. And then there are also safety tails that I created for children where instead of the lycra going around the whole monofin, they have little booties that go in the foot pockets. So they can just slip right out. It's super safe and fun and easy. And they're mix and match, and they're like swatch watches of the monofin and mermaid tail world. But yeah, I just, I do a lot of different things. I free dive. I did get trained by Kirk, Mandy, and Martin. I have just over a 5-minute static personal best breath hold. I judge the sport of freediving. I judged for many years. I've sort of hung up my fins, so to speak, in the realm of judging, just because I've been so busy with my business, with Mermaids in Motion, which is my company. But creating educational content, doing presentations for children, designing and inventing. I actually have some patents in my name with mermaid products, which is so fun. And again, these are things I never could have dreamed would be possible or even in the realm of what I would do. The work does multiply as you start getting into your passions. And if you're enthusiastic, people just want to be a part of what you're doing or say, hey, have you ever thought of this? Have you thought of that? And things have just kind of appeared. Things have just appeared over time. So, gosh, anyone who wants to explore mermaiding, and even in the UK, I wanted to tell you, Chantel, there's the UK Mermaid Academy. Yeah, there is a Mermaid Academy. There are actually several. And then, I mean, gosh, there's Emma Farrell who teaches freediving. Yes. And she can definitely implement mermaid magic into your little sea fans freediving experience or into an adult's. There are specialty courses that are through, I believe, Patty and Nowie. There are a bunch of mermaid specialty courses being taught now. So it's become a big thing. Yeah, it's this.
I'm so out of it. I had no idea whatsoever. I mean, like, you were kind of... Okay, Steve introduced me to some of the mermaids some time ago, and I saw them in like a tank and stuff like that, and it didn't really get to me. And then it was probably a couple of years later then I actually saw how big it is in America, and Steve was saying to me that people are making thousands and thousands of dollars and pounds and actually doing it. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome. And if you can do it, I mean, yeah, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And I mean, like, how long do you foresee yourself continuing with this?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I'm turning 40 in a couple weeks,
Yes,
and yeah, and I realize there's a shelf life on live performance-based work and on camera work, and that's okay. And for me, it's not even about the live performance-based stuff. It's not about being on camera. I actually get fairly nervous on camera, but it's about sending the information. For me, it's just, the mermaid is just a conduit for education. It is a method that excites people, is unique, and highlights something that I wish to share in a way that isn't just like everyone else does it. It's just different. And that was the impetus for me becoming a mermaid, was truly just that. What are kids going to be excited about? What would I have wanted to see when I was little? Of course I loved Ariel. Of course I loved Splash. All the movies that everyone says that they enjoyed as youngsters who are into mermaids. But none of them were teaching something. And it just made so much sense to me to have a half fish, a half human who speaks on behalf of the ocean creatures, but can talk to the human world and be an ambassador for the creatures underwater. It just makes so much sense. It's a merging of the worlds in an embodied form. So for me, it's not about like perching on a rock and looking pretty with makeup. In fact, I don't prefer to do that. I really just enjoy conveying information that I find interesting in a unique way. So if I stop one day doing live performance-based work, that's fine. I would love to produce a show and be behind the scenes, writing, producing, helping with the content, directing, or whatever that means, just so we can keep having a way for kids to learn about the oceans and care about our environment and be ambassadors in a fun way. That's all I care about. The Mermaid Linden brand just happens to be the avenue for me to be able to convey that information over the past decade or so.
Well, you truly are an incredible inspiration, Linden. And what I did, sorry, that's my dog's. Oh.
Salty dog.
That's what happens when you have a live webinar. Anything can happen. I mean, like, can you just remind me again that did you do a book, or was did you actually create it? Oh, okay. So that's
not yet.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, that's pretty exciting. Okay, well, unfortunately, this is live and also going to be recorded, so we kind
That's fine.
Up.
That's okay.
Okay,
I have so many ambitions and projects.
No, it was great, but that's what makes you young at heart and enthusiastic and willing, you know. And I think that people are always drawn by your spirit. You have got this like really contagious spirit that is just, I mean, contagious. That's probably the worst word I could actually use at these times, but
right.
It's definitely not COVID. But you know, I just think I can just see people drawn to you, and I believe that, you know, if you are going to be doing a book, that's absolutely fantastic. And I think that you're a brilliant presenter as well. So like and it doesn't have to be anything that's mermaid or anything. I have no idea why nobody's picked you up already. And put you.
Oh, we've been pitching. I've been working with producers and lots of show. I mean, gosh, how much would I love to have the Mermaid Minute as an interstitial, you know, between other shows on Saturday morning? You know, how much would I love to have an expanded version of that? Very much. So I have actually 8 different show concepts that I have been intermittently pitching to networks over the years with an incredible team that has just shown great interest in what I do, and I'm so grateful for that. So I believe there's a great quote that I love, that I always say, and this is, my friend Kinga told me this, and another friend of hers told her, and I know someone else said this originally, but what is for you will never pass by you. So I believe that this applies to everything in life, opportunities, jobs, television shows, partners. What is for you will never pass by you. So I do believe that if something is meant to be or come together, it's going to happen. And I'm just being patient about it and trusting that nothing ever happens the way we envision, imagine, or hope that it might. And it usually takes a lot longer than we anticipate. So life.
Yeah, my phrase is all good things come to those who wait. So that's kind of my thing, my philosophy that I've had through the years. And yes, sometimes you end up waiting for them for quite some time, but it's that moment when it happens that you know it's the right thing at the right time, and you make such a success about it. So I'm hoping that gosh, imagine if I had, you know, I'm recording this for you. I put it on Vimeo, and somebody watches and they go, "Oh my gosh, I gotta have this woman," you know, in front of a TV, doing kids stuff or whatever the case would be. That would be just so. So can you just pitch something like, "Hi, I'm Linden, and I'm available for anything."
Well, I am. Well, not everything. I'm actually quite choosy. I'm a G-rated mermaid and very, very thoughtful about how I present myself and present information.
Absolutely.
But oh my gosh, yes, I am open to collaborations, ideas, stories, content creation, co-creation. You know, I think co-empowerment through the creative process is one of the most amazing things. I've realized I've been a solopreneur, as they call it, for years, but I love collaborating with people who are also equally passionate and have skill sets that I don't possess or don't enjoy. You know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you want to do it. And I've been kind of a Jill, for lack of a better term, of all trades, not a Jack, but a Jill of all trades, to create a lot of the things that I have in the past. But I've also had incredible support from people who are very talented and skilled in their own skill sets, who have embellished my work and my career in ways that I am so grateful for. So finding the right people to collaborate, finding the right production companies, the right networks to house your projects and to share them with the world. I mean, gosh, it's something I would love to be able to have the opportunity one day to do. So who knows? Maybe something even better awaits. Who knows? I don't, not yet.
Yeah, excellent. So Bob says hi from, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Belarus Sky. Hi, Mount. Sorry.
Hi, Bob.
Sky and Kilo, making a noise. New York, USA, great presenter and presentation. So absolutely. So Gwen says, will there be a link to view this webinar again? Yes, Gwen, I'll send that to Linden, and you'll be able to definitely watch it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So,
not that you want to do that. She's seen enough of me in her lifetime. That's my mother.
Your parents love you. What are you talking about? They absolutely adore you, and they must be so proud of you. So, you know, that's so absolutely amazing. Well, Linden, yeah, I think I've got some other things that I'd like to do with you. So with regards to presenting, so I will be in touch with that, with yourself. And the other thing is that I want to wish you all the very best for whatever you do. You know, you're such an inspiration to, I mean, like, I'm 48, I'm going on 49 next year. I wish I was a lot younger, but you know, you can achieve so much in what you're doing, and I just think that there is a whole world out there that is just waiting to embrace you. So I hope that you are incredibly successful in whatever you do, and I thank you so much for coming on here to be able to inspire other people. So thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, it has. Chris, sorry. I'm on a webinar, by the way. Hey! Sorry.
It's a webinar bomb.
Yeah. So anyway, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. And Michelle, you're great. Will, Jill, Glenn and Bob, hopefully that you got something out of it, and we appreciate your time and your effort. And Linden, you're absolutely fantastic, and I wish you all the very best. Good night. Well, we're nice at the present moment. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, and God bless.
So long, farewell.
Au revoir.
Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chantal. This was awesome.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.